Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here and for staying on for our Q&A. My name is Diana Jelacha, and I'm the programming director of the festival. It is our absolute honor and pleasure to have Srdjan Vuletic in attendance for the first time at BHFF.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Of course. I'm going to read an introduction just to give our audience some context. I need my glasses on for that. So Srdjan Vuletic has directed and scripted award-winning feature and short films, including Summer in the Golden Valley. It's Hard to Be Nice. They all played at a number of festivals around the world. Hop, Skip and Jump, as well as The Tender, which is a sitcom you directed, and Frost, high-end limited series.
It's not out yet, okay?
It's not out yet, it's coming. And this is your third feature-length film.
Yes. Yeah.
And actually, I just learned this because this festival has been around for longer than I've been involved with it. My colleague Amir Husak, who is sitting right there, whispered this to me just before the screening started, that in fact, at the very first iteration of this festival, your film Summer in the Golden Valley was the very first film that was screened. So let's give this a round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I just heard it before the screening. Yeah, great. Yeah.
So that's amazing. You're sort of the longest running veteran of this festival, and this is your first time in person.
Yeah, listen, it's this kind of compliments are never too nice because you start thinking about retiring, you know.
We're not giving you a Lifetime Achievement Award.
Okay, good.
Yes, yes, don't worry. We expect a lot more to come from you.
Yes, yes. I actually shot one more movie after this one, so it will be over this year, yeah.
So after this film, having seen it together with the audience, where do we start? Let's start with where the idea for the story came from. I do notice in the credits that the original story came from a female writer.
Mirela Grbešić-Trepanić. She's my colleague director, and she used to be my student. And she made a script for a short film about two guys who want to beat one woman out of boredom, you know. And then this thing stayed with me, you know, and I always thought that there could be more squeezed out of that, you know. And then later, and there was another thing that I always wanted to do, is to make a movie about this process of how we are normalizing unnormal things, you know. And then I thought that her story that talks about violence against women in Bosnia, which is rampant, I would say, really complements this my obsession about making a movie about this normalizing unnormal things. And then that was like a thing where I started from, you know. And then yeah, and I wanted to make a movie that is in appearance on the first level, that it's not drama, but some kind of easy-going, free-flowing, 3-4 little stories that are, you know, like crossing each other, and then to mask the real horror, you know. So when I finished the movie, I said this movie is to the audience on the different screenings. I said this movie is about a society who is longing for a hero. And I think Bosnia and Herzegovina became this kind of society that we are longing for hero. You know, you just seem not to get any good news for long time. You know, and then when you analyzing it, it's also about how people are not brave enough sometimes, you know. And then there are so many things that you can do. It's not about law, it's about you. And that's what I was saying in this process of I will repeat it many times, of normalizing unnormal things. One of the alibis is that, oh, no, it's a legal something. No, but if you can help your fucking neighbor, help him. You know, don't wait for legal somebody, some entity to come down from space and to help that person. So that was one thing. And then I was thinking what struck me the most in these cases of violence against women. It's many of these cases were announced. You know, and like here, so guy tells in the open, like his plan, and then little by little people get used to it, and little by little only guy who is against it became black sheep and enemy. And so I always remember there was a case about that happened a few years ago about a woman who was killed, and then she was going from door to door saying, my husband will kill me, like for months, you know. And then so this movie is in a way about it, you know.
This is clearly a very heavy subject in any given context, but in the context of Bosnia and former Yugoslavia, femicide has been a serious issue. There's been a rise of violence against women, sort of enhanced by social media, sometimes live streamed. Even murders. And so your film appears to be timely in that sense.
Yeah,
unfortunately so, yes.
It happened that we had on the night of the premiere at Sarajevo Film Festival, there was a guy, that day guy killed his wife in one city in northern Bosnia and live streaming it. So yeah, it was. This movie is. I would like to say that I'm doing movie about exotic subject, but problem is that it's very close to our society. And listen, there is another thing that I always say is that I'm not an activist. You know, I'm filmmaker. I just want to push this thing in your face. And then you have to think about it. It's not, you know, sometimes I'm saying to my students that sometimes the directors have to give also solution, not only to ask question. So this is not this case here. Here is more about a cautionary tale. You know, I say this is cautionary tale. This is about we cannot go on like this. You know, it's so. And what I said earlier, you cannot expect somebody else to do the things for you, and nobody else can be empathic instead of you for somebody else. So this is movie about it. Yeah.
I mean, it's a film about toxic masculinity, obviously, in so many ways, but it's also about sort of a lone person in that group still trying to do something, and like you said, becomes a black sheep of the group.
But you know, he is guilty too.
Of course,
you know, I was trying this. There is this thing that goes in a few of my films that I try to somewhere. Sometimes I have firm attitude. So good intention is not enough, you know. Sometimes it's good intention is great, you know, but sometimes good intention is just you are just a little bit less guilty, but still guilty, you know. And then if you analyze this main character guy who had the chance to be a hero, because when you analyze this movie, everything could be prevented. They would not be dead, this girl would not be attacked and humiliated and whatever. So everything could be prevented very early, you know. Either to insist with police to whatever, or they could stop this guy, say, hey, listen, go home today, you know, it's not your day. Okay, I give you $20, go have a drink, you know, something. Whatever solution they could bring, it would work. But the thing is that here nobody is innocent in this movie, and that's the thing of this how you call it in English, this snowballing effect, you know. So it doesn't start from one little thing. It's many little things that make perfect storm, but it originally starts with one idiot. It takes just one idiot to do something big, you know. So yeah.
And other people doing nothing, which means they're
Yes.
enabling it, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
listen, this, how you know, these guys, so in the beginning, when you do nothing, you are not just the witness, then in the next phase you are co-perpetrator, how is it?
Accomplice.
Accomplice, yeah, and then in the last phase you are victim. It goes full circle. You will be victim. You know, you cannot escape if you don't help somebody early in the process, and then in this very early phases of that process, somebody will be victim. In the end, you will be a victim. You know. Yeah.
I want to situate this story in the which it is, but I just want to contextualize it for our audiences of contemporary Bosnia and the really difficult socioeconomic situation. The very opening scene of the film is men looking for work,
Yes,
temp work, gig economy, anything that they can get their hands on to make ends meet. And we already have the foreshadowing of the ending with the man who doesn't get the gig. So can you talk a little bit about that, the socioeconomic depravity of it all that maybe feeds further into this violence?
It's okay, so it's a very known pattern that like people in bad economic shape could end up doing something bad. But here I think one guy from LA told me one interesting thing. He told me that this main villain, you know, this negative guy, that he is humiliating this old person in the beginning because he sees in them what his future might look like that he will end up like this, and he out of fear he does this. You know, it was interesting reading into this, but I was always more about so situation in Bosnia and other Balkan countries is not that you cannot really find a job. You can, but everybody wants easy job, you know, like do nothing and get something really fast. You know, we have this bizarre situation where you have a high unemployment rate, and yet you have many people who have own companies and looking for workers, and say nobody is applying, nobody wants to work, or if they come, they have their own how to say conditions, how high salary should be. So it's very strange situation. But what is very common, people want millions for doing nothing. You know, that's real Balkan story. It's not only in Bosnia, in Bulgaria, in Serbia, Croatia, everywhere the same. So minimum effort, maximum intake. You know, so but unfortunately, world doesn't work like this. And then, you know, as you know, frustrations are born where expectations and result don't meet, you know, and yeah.
And then you have this B plot, so to speak, of the activist group that's around, who are sort of trying to do some work that also seems fairly pointless in the context. Can you say a little more about that?
So my point was that I sometimes recognize it in me. It's much easier to help a tree or pet than human, you know, and that's something that annoys me. And then that's how it all went in the script, you know. It is some strange occurrence that people are can be very eruptive when you have to save a dog or cat, you know, but when you are supposed to do something for some fellow citizen, you know, you just have a million questions. Why should I do it? Who is that guy? Who is that girl? You know, and that's why.
Yeah. And there were these fairly funny moments of this performative activism or promotion of things with the setting up of this green initiative and the phone calls and things like that. This is very endemic local humor that is that permeates your work more generally. And if I can speak, before I open it up for the audience questions, and put it in the context of your own work, when I first became aware of your work, it was the films that you made during the siege of Sarajevo, such as the short documentary I Burnt Legs, which was such a brilliant film. That was you facing the camera and saying, this is the film I would have made if this wasn't happening around me. And somehow from then on, your stories have always been about the city and the contemporary whatever situation. So can you somehow give us a little bit of like where you feel that this particular film lands in the trajectory of your filmmaking, starting with being a filmmaker during the siege of Sarajevo as a very young man?
First thing, my last movie I shot in Montenegro, so it's no more in Sarajevo. I think I evolved as a director, and I'm older. You know, I made big long break. You know. Because it took me more than 15 years between second and third film. Okay, I did some other stuff. I did sitcom and I did some theater performance and some documentaries. But and it's normal to evolve, you know. But I think that now I still do this thing where I try to say some heavy or difficult stuff disguised in some black humor or humorous moments. So that's something, because I believe, you know, that when you talk about something very heavy, some very heavy subject, and if you deliver it in heavy way, you kill it. You know, it's just too much for people. And you know, so I like to talk to people, to audience, and they say, you know, I work very hard job. I come back from job. I'm very tired. I go to go to cinema to see the movie, and it's fucking heavy story. You know, I cannot bear it anymore. Give me La La Land. You know, and that argument I how to say, I understand. You know. And that's something that stayed in my work. What I think what I'm more interested. So one of my favorite directors was always Robert Altman, you know. And then I try to work more with these different stories here, 3-4 stories. Okay, there is main story, but just to try to do something with few stories that intertwine, you know. And that's new. And then I think I still believe that you have to find your actors, you know. And then what you see here, it's interesting that it's all this whole crew. I mean, casting. This whole casting is actors that are not known or little known. There is nobody very known, you know, or famous. You know, it's just I wanted to bring new faces, new energy, because with new faces you have this documentary style, then, you know, more believable, you know. So yeah, that's I don't know where I am right now as a director in these terms you were asking me, but I think you always try. You always try to find to reinvent yourself, you know. Because I was thinking that there is this thing that somebody said once, that directors always make the same movie, but just different subjects, you know. And then I thought, oh, fuck, I don't want to be like that, you know. And then some favorite directors that I really like are not like this, you know. And like, of course, one of the favorite directors of all directors is Stanley Kubrick. And he was really reinventing himself with every new movie. And I said, okay, these people talk to younger directors, it's not true, actually, you know. So then I also tried to do something very differently, and so that's it, you know.
Yeah, and speaking of, I mean, you mentioned two great filmmakers, Stanley Kubrick and Robert Altman, but with Robert Altman, it's also usually this ensemble cast.
Yes,
it's
yes,
not
yes,
like
yes.
a single star or two
Yes.
movie stars, even if he features movie stars. It's just this plethora of
Yes,
stories
yes.
and intertwined, and it's not always clear how they're like connect to each other, but eventually somehow they do, like in Nashville, for example.
Yes,
and
and
all of those
that's
things.
why I insisted that all my actors are written in on the poster, because I see this movie as this ensemble cast movie, you know. Yeah.
And before I open it up to the audience, there is a Chekhov's gun, a literal Chekhov's gun in the
Yes,
film
yes, yes.
that's introduced early on, and then it goes off
Yes.
finally. So with that bleak ending, and then this sort of somewhat mysterious final shot, when we know that there were some victims, but not
Yep.
not everyone died. Tell us a little bit about that process of like how that got weaved into the story, where a person that we may have suspected would actually
Yeah.
pull the trigger. Ended
I
up.
say, idiots always float. You know, you can hold them under the water. I don't know, 20 minutes they will go up again. And sane, normal, beautiful people they drown. You know, and then you know it would be unfair from me in this world today or last year to have a happy ending, you know, to show, oh no, everything is fine in our country, it's beautiful, and so it just I couldn't do it, you know, and then on the other hand, there is this thing about evolving, you know. In old me would have a shot of all these guys killed, you know, and
Bonnie and Clyde
money
style.
costs, pyrotechnics costs now a lot, you know. And
So it happens off screen.
yeah. So it happens off screen, like many things here. Yeah, okay. And then, so my basic thing is that if we want to have this, how to say, if we want to keep this cautionary tale to the end, then ending cannot be possibly like positive and good. Yeah.
And with that, I'll open it up for the audience. There should be, please raise your hand if you have a question, and I already see one. There should be ushers who will bring a microphone around just so we can hear you, because we're also recording the conversation.
Very simple question. Could you tell us about the title? Why did you choose Jim, even though it's such a minor scenes in the movie?
Yeah. Okay. Yes. So first of all, there is another title that is like alternative title. It's my sister's boyfriend. It's and then it was up to the, believe me, up to the day when we were making last this credit, you know. And then we decided to go with Jim, because if we had this my sister's boyfriend, then it would be maybe too much focus on this guy. It would be giving away too much, I think. And but I like that title. But Jim was a title that I choose in the end because I wanted to underline this. This need for building empathy, for building solidarity a little bit. It's not. It's as opposed to that we are only building appearance, physicality. We just have to somehow to think more about being human, how to be more human. That was just nothing mysterious, just very simple, you know.
But there was something about the gym scenes that were also about sort of this gratuitous bodily image, superficial
Yes,
appearance
yes.
situations. Yeah.
Yes, it's just because it turns out that we are, how to say, we are not going beyond what we see, you know, and then it's in this story, you know, what I was trying to say earlier, that you have something that's so obvious. One guy who is idiot cannot do anything noble, you know, and then we don't go into it, you know. We just, okay, he will do something else, you know, maybe he'll change, you know. So yeah.
Other questions from the audience? Right there in the middle.
Hi, I really liked this movie.
Thank you.
I was struck by what you said at the beginning that was sort of about the country and about the backdrop for all of this, about Bosnia as, I would say, one of the many places that is looking for a hero. And that I think I liked the movie especially because of the ensemble cast, as Diana was saying, because the movie doesn't have a hero, and that you allowed that to sort of shine through by not letting us have a protagonist or the brother-in-law or a person who will sort of pick up everybody's debt. And I was just wondering how the film has been received as, to me, a film about the crisis of masculinity that's also an economic crisis for which women get to pay. Is there a conversation about that?
Listen, it's there is. If I would tell you that everybody who saw the movie really liked it and jumped out of happiness, to I would lie. You know, it was. You know, there is one thing that I realized actually. It's that people in our country like to see a romanticized version of our country. And if you talk about difficult problems of the country, oh no, you know, we have so many beautiful things in our country, and coffee is nice and blah blah. And then I said, but okay, coffee is nice, but this is there is also need to talk about something that is problematic in our country. So the response was polarized, you know. And I had one group that really didn't like the movie just because of this. They say, oh, it's just too much. Why for me, crazy part is why we wanna see movie where somebody beats a woman. And I said, but if we want to actualize this subject about violence against women, it cannot go without, you know, it cannot be completely without it. And so there is also another group of people who really like the movie. And I remember one guy told me, when somebody smiles at me, I'm like, what's going on? You know, why he's smiling? You know, so what's wrong? So we were a country known where everybody was smiling, you know, all the time. And then for some reason, in last 10, 15 years, everything changed. You know, people are very cold. And what I show here, this way of very aggressive communication between people. Believe me, this is one-on-one. It's 100% like this. When somebody tells you something nice, you are like, what's going on here? You know, and yeah, so that was between these two things, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just
listen, there is also one scene that people react very well also. I mean, the scene that they talk about a lot is the scene where a cop comes to this girl to make a report, you know, and that's very problematic. So there is a line in one of the scenes before when guys say they are like waiters. They just write down something in a notebook, like take the order and do nothing about it, you know. And that's a problem. I had many people coming to me saying, this is exactly what happened to me. You know, and I say, it's exactly what happened to me, because I remember, so it's on different level. I remember I had my 2 bikes stolen, you know, and cop came, you know, and said, okay, yeah, what color, you know, blah, blah. And said, you know what, on Saturdays, there is this, how to say, flea market in the suburbs. Just go there, and if you see your bike, call us. What the fuck? So, you know, and then I realized, so I used that experience when I was writing. Then I remembered girls saying these things, you know. I spoke with the cop and nothing happened. You know, I spoke with the cop, say, oh, yeah, you know, there's nothing we can do about it and blah, blah. So this is just one part of the story, you know.
And Bosnia is not unique in that sense.
No.
Unfortunately, violence against women is only recognized when it actually materializes. Threats are not taken seriously.
Yeah.
If a woman reports threats, it's usually we can't do anything unless something actually happens. And once it happens, it's too late.
Yeah.
So you're showing that in your film, and that's not, unfortunately, only Bosnia. Patriarchy rules supreme across the globe, unfortunately.
Listen, I was mixing sound in Istanbul, in Turkey. Guys said, oh my God, Turkey, you know, oh, we don't talk about, you know, it's just on different levels, you know. I'd say we are somewhere in the middle of horror. You know, we are not most horror country, but we are going to the top slowly.
But can I ask you this? So what do you think with regards to that, the omnipresent threat against women in this context? Obviously, there's threat of violence against many different groups, minorities, but we're specifically talking about women. So what is your position on actually depicting it on the screen vis-a-vis maybe perpetuating that violence?
Yeah.
Maybe someone seeing it and thinking, okay, I don't need to see it. I know it. It can happen off screen, just like the shooting happens off screen, and we know that some people died. But the violence against the woman happens on screen.
Yeah, it partly happens.
Partly.
You know.
So what? Tell us about that.
So this thing. So first thing is what I said earlier. You cannot talk really concretely about it if you are abstract. You know, that was my take. Maybe I'm wrong. But secondly, in these scenes, I want to show that system is broken, and that you can have people encouraged to perpetuate and to do these things in reality just because they recognize that system broken. I wanted to share the message that we need to fix the system. Maybe we cannot fix every person, you know, but we can fix maybe the system, and then things will start to work out. Because you have many cases of these safe houses where it didn't work, you know, and then you had the cases, and both men and women were involved in violence against women. That's interesting. So, for example, in this case you mentioned, the woman judge was woman who was in charge of that case, because it was not first time that this guy beat his wife, and she never saw, how to say, need to give some restraining order or something, you know. So it's about the system, you know. And then I thought maybe we should show a little bit, a few faces of, not few, a few facets of this problem, you know. And yeah.
Of course, completely understandable. And it is, I completely agree with you, systematic and systemic violence, and anyone can be complicit, including other women.
Yes.
That goes without saying. Are there any other questions from the audience before we wrap it up? Yes, up there. Do we have a mic?
Hi, I'm the one that's giving out the mic as well. Just one comment, I guess, or a reflection. I think as we're talking about women, and I think it's interesting the roles of the women that you had in your movie as well, where you had, the entrepreneur that wanted to go out on her own, and then there's a backlash against her by men. Then you have the woman in the gym who's just taking pictures and everybody's liking her on Instagram. And she's got like, I don't know, I think you have in your how many likes. And then I think you have the third woman, I'm just speaking about the ones that are, I guess, Bosnian, right? Who is giving out money to be protected. And I think that in and of itself is sort of a symbolism of what women face in Bosnia. Like you can pay to be protected if your father or your brother or your cousin isn't going to, go beat somebody up for you. But whatever you do, you're kind of between a rock and a hard place. So I think that was just a comment that I walked away with from the movie.
Very good. And there are also some women in this group, this theater, I'm not theater activist group, that do nothing also. Because, I had this strange experience with one woman after the screening. She said, no, this is bullshit. I'm activist, women activist, and I don't know. And she was saying, like, it cannot go, like, very abstract this way. And then I thought, no, she said, I'm activist for 20 years. And I thought, listen, it was never worse. So you are activist 20 years, and now it's more worse than ever, And then what did you do, really? So then I thought this activist thing struck a chord. This in movie struck a chord with this. I don't want to sound like Trump, like fake activists, but they are really fake because they are really doing nothing, It's conference after conference after conference. It's always the same 7 people that talk among themselves. What do you do? I never heard one single woman saying that you help them, So I'm not going to rant. There are some nice things and good things that they do. But I say there is 1,000 activists about some subject like this, and there is maybe 2 activists that are really, really meaningful, And then I thought, okay, this movie works well, And then my sister, she works for European Commission, and she used to work in UN Women, And then she is one of the few who resigned, And then she said, one girl, my former colleague from UN doesn't like your movie at all. It says it means that it's a very good movie because they do nothing. What? Why? Then why are you telling me this? Yeah.
That opens up a huge conversation about performative activism and the role of UN and in anything at all these days. But unfortunately, that's all the time we have. So I want to thank Srdjan. Please give our guest a round of applause. Woo! Woo! Thank you for being here, and we can continue the conversation outside and also at the whatever the bar is called.
Tipler.
You know the name of the bar.
I just heard.
Better than, I live here. He doesn't. He knows the.
Tipler.
All right. See you there. Thank you all for being here. Take care.
Thank you.